Boone Pickens. Welcome to Street Smart. Great to see you back on this show.
Thanks. Did you see I fell out of that billion-dollar deal this year? I went out of the billion-dollar group.
Well, but not by much, Mr. Pickens.
It was 50 million. I went down to
Every
900.
million counts.
I've now given away more than I'm worth.
Well, that's
Have you really?
exciting.
I have, yeah. Really what happened to me, 08, 09, I was $4 billion, lost 2, gave away 1, and have 1 left.
Wow.
A
Wow.
little less than 1.
Well, you
Little
can't
less
take it
than
with
one
you,
thing.
so you know what?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Where do you give the money to?
Oh, I've given it, you know, like last week it was Johns Hopkins, Wilmer Eye Institute at Johns Hopkins. They've done more for macular degeneration, and I have macular. And this eye is dry, this one's wet, and I get shots in the wet eye. How'd you like to get a shot in your eye?
You get shots, actual shots. I wouldn't like that, Boone. I'll be honest. I wouldn't like that at all. You're a brave man.
It isn't that bad. Honestly, it is not.
So, you know, you're so synonymous with energy and the future of energy. You've pushed very hard for nat gas, according to the International Energy.
I had it figured out, didn't I?
Yes,
you did.
You know, we are set to overtake Russia here as a net exporter of energy. What is all this saying here for our energy independence? Are we going to get there?
You have the most dynamic industry in America, the oil and gas industry. When I got out of school in '51 as a geologist, that the oil that had been found at that point, 95% of it had been found by American geologists and geophysicists. And now you're at the same spot again. I mean, we have the best industry. They're the most productive. They've been the most efficient. It's a great group.
Did you ever think you'd see this day, though? I mean, think back to you getting out of school as a geologist and getting into the energy field. Did you ever think we would be here? And I know you talked about it and you dreamed about it more recently, but all the way back then when you were first getting into the industry.
No, when I got out in '51, the industry was kind of on its ass at that point. And there were only 4 out of 28 that got jobs as geologists in my class. And then you had ups and downs in the industry. Now it's the most dynamic industry in the United States.
A lot of people say this is what's going to power our economy forward. This is what's helping to recreate America. Do you believe that?
I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, up till now, that the oil and gas industry has done the job for the country. But we have the cheapest energy in the world. Our oil is 10% cheaper than the rest of the world. Our natural gas is 75% cheaper, and our gasoline's 50% cheaper. And that's fueling the growth in this country.
Can we do it safely, though? A lot of concerns about fracking and development in shale. We got a lot of it, but can we consistently bring it to the surface safely?
The President of the United States said 6 months ago that the Department of Energy had developed fracking 30 years ago. Okay. I saw my first frack job in 1952. That was 60 years ago.
Right.
I personally have fracked 2,000 wells. Yes, it can be done safely. I mean, you're fracking 2 miles down, and what they always talk about is that you damage the aquifers. The largest aquifer in North America extends from Midland, Texas to the South Dakota border, across 8 states. There have been hundreds of thousands of wells drilled through that aquifer and fracked below, and no damage to the aquifer. It really, I promise you.
It can be done safely.
Yes, it can.
We were talking about this amazing just energy renaissance that the country is going through, and you were saying that, you know, when you first got into this industry, you had no idea that there was a chance the U.S. could actually become a real source of energy independence.
No, that when I got in it in '51, we peaked in 1970. So oil was increasing in the United States over that period. 70, we peaked at 10 million barrels a day, and then we fell off to 5. That period was a tough period for the industry and for all of us in the industry. And then the shale came back, And so horizontal drilling is huge. I mean, that's...
You open up more of the formation with that horizontal drilling, and then you frack it, you explode it. So it's really a combination, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But you go down and get in the pay zone and then run a lateral hole out 5,000, some of them are 9,000 feet out. And then you frack all down that hole. So
some people have been critical, saying, you know, we shouldn't be exporting so much of our own energy. What do you say?
Well, how much are we exporting? Right now, we're not exporting any oil, and we're getting ready to export natural gas.
The first LNG terminal goes online, what, about 2 years?
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll be at Cheniere, Lake Charles, Louisiana. But you are exporting product, gasoline and diesel, out of the country. You're exporting about, I think, 2.8 million barrels a day, but you're exporting 2.8, importing 1.4 products. We're just talking about gasoline, diesel. So you're net exporter of 1.4 million barrels a day. So we aren't big exporters yet. We won't be on oil because we're using 18 million barrels of oil a day, producing about half of it in the United States and importing the rest. About half of the half comes from Canada and Mexico. The other half comes from OPEC. And that's the one I want to stop. I want to stop the OPEC part.
Well, and part of how you want to do that is to switch fleets, say, to natural gas, so you use more of what we have, nat gas, and less of what we don't, oil.
Yes, and it's 30% cleaner and half the price of diesel. So it makes all the sense in the world, but that is going to happen.
Is it moving fast enough for you? I mean, you say it's going to happen.
At 85, nothing moves fast enough for me. I don't move so fast, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah. And sure, I want it to happen faster.
What's the holdup?
I started this in '88.
Wow.
Yeah, and I said I will penetrate the market within 3 years. I didn't even come close.
Well, do we need an energy policy, a comprehensive energy policy to make this happen, or is it better left to just free market guys like yourself?
Okay, let it happen that way. You need an energy policy for America. We are the only country in the world without an energy policy, if you can believe it. And we don't have one. So it'd be a good idea to know the resources we have, how we're going to deploy them, and where we go from here. We have no plan like that.
Too political.
It's too exactly. Neither party wants to tackle it. Neither one. And they've had time after time after time to address the issue, did not. You go back to Nixon, he ran for president and said that elect me and we'll be energy independent. And none of you weren't around, but people that sat in your chairs never said, hey, President, you said we'd be energy independent. We're importing more oil all the time. Then every one of the people that ran for president said the same thing. We kept importing more and more oil all the time. And, you know, we got up to 10 million barrels a day imports. Nobody ever had a plan.
I wonder if you were to turn down the table and ask Boone Pickens if he ever paid 19 times sales or 200 times operating profits for a brand new company, a new company that's coming to the markets. That's a real high price.
T. Boone, Pickens, you want to answer that one?
Listen, this is a new world for me.
Hey, you're on Twitter, though. You're
That's right.
at Boone Pickens, right?
Yeah, but you know how many I have on my...
I'm going to check right now. I bet you got a good, fair number.
You guess. What is it?
Oh,
I follow Boone.
I follow Boone, too. So I'm guessing at least 100,000, maybe a million. Let's see.
160,000.
160,000 followers.
I think.
What do you think? Would you buy Twitter trading at, as Corey points out, 19 times sales?
Listen, I think, you know, I'll stand on my head and bet my ass, you know, sometimes, and so that
you spend a lot of money betting on oil. You know,
exactly.
Oil.
I'll take
plays,
a chance,
so.
but Twitter, it's unbelievable what Twitter has done. When I first saw it, I said, I can't believe people are going to fool around and do that, and they damn sure did. Yeah.
And you're one of them. You know, you've got a plan for America, an energy plan for America. It's something that you talk about, you know, not just on a program like this, but also via Twitter. What is the response? I mean, what do you see from people just in the social media space when you talk about this?
Well, the social media space, I said I was very surprised when I saw it take off like it did. But people, man, they love to communicate with each other and People want to get their, you know, statement out there, their 2 bits out there. They want somebody to hear their idea because they think they have a good idea. I don't know. I think the whole thing makes a lot of sense.
You've argued for converting the U.S. truck fleet to natural gas. Just curious, what do you think of electric cars, things like Tesla? I mean, could we go an electric route?
Anything American is fine with me. You know, I've been that from the outset on my plan. Get off the enemy's oil is what you need to do. I mean, when you're buying OPEC oil, some part of the money paid is getting back in the hands of the Taliban. And
as long as you're using oil, period, right? You're running that risk?
Sure you are.
Because it's a global market?
Okay, but if we had an energy plan, we don't have to be in the Persian Gulf. That's 17 million barrels of oil a day that comes through the Straits of Hormuz. Only 10% of it comes here. Okay, why are we the one that protect a cartel, OPEC's oil, coming out of the Persian Gulf? The Fifth Fleet's there. We get people killed in Iraq, Afghanistan, all of it related to the Persian Gulf. And we could pull those people out of there. Something that hadn't been looked at is in 1973, we had an Arab embargo. They cut off all oil to the United States. Right. They're going to show us what they can do. We put in we passed a bill that where you're going to put oil in the ground in Mississippi and Louisiana in salt caverns.
The Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
SPR. 700 million barrels we have in there. The most we've ever drawn out is 2 times we drew out 28 million barrels. Now our production has gone from 5 million barrels to 9 million barrels in America. We don't need 700 million barrels in storage. Get it out. Not all of it. Okay, leave.
What would that do to oil prices?
Well, you've got to, you don't want to pull it out and drop oil prices. So to get it out, feed it into the market, it would probably take you 10 years to get 400 million out. But you could cut off OPEC and come out of there, convert your truck fleet to natural gas, and what do you have? Energy.
Real energy independence and independence from the Middle East, and hopefully
absolutely, and get the hell out of there, cut your military commitment to the area, and you don't get any more people killed over there.
And what about the argument the skeptics will say about the power of nat gas, the ability of nat gas to create torque in engines, in large, say, 18-wheeler engines?
Well, there's no problem with that. I mean, that's a myth to start with. Remember, natural gas comes out of the ground at 130 octane. Does not need a refinery. The environmentalists should just jump on it and love it. And but no refinery, through a simple separator and then into the pipeline, and it's pipeline gas ready to be used.
And directly into vehicles. Exactly,
and it's the high end of the hydrocarbon chain is what it is. And we really haven't understood the fuel, and we haven't embraced it like we should have done. It's 30% cleaner than diesel.
Have you talked to the president recently at all about this?
Yeah, he called me this afternoon.
I know that you've gone to the White House.
I've gone to the White House several times and thought...
And what's the response?
Okay, I've talked to the president once. It was in August of '08, and we had an hour-and-a-half conversation on energy. And I haven't talked to him again, so I must not have made a very good impression or something.
But you have made an impression on people like Fred Smith, the CEO of FedEx, who wants to convert his fleets.
Heavy duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred likes the battery for light duty, which fine with me. I have no problem with it.
So go electric for light duty, but go nat gas for heavy duty.
Oh, yeah. There's only 2 fuels that are going to move an 18-wheeler. And you get the environmentalists, and I'm an environmentalist. I've got, you know, I can pass a saliva test for being
an environmentalist.
Yeah. And so, I mean, really, I've got a good record on that. But they talk about getting on wind and solar and cutting down OPEC. Well, no, wind and solar are not transportation fuels. 70% of all the vehicles of of the oil is used for vehicle transportation.
So that's where the key lies.
Pardon me?
That's the key then.
Sure.
Finding a replacement for that.
Exactly. And that's what and we have the replacement here. But it's going, you always look for the tipping point. Well, the tipping point has come. Cummins has supplied the new 12-liter engine, which is 400 horsepower engine, and it is going to be the missing link.
And that's a natural gas capable engine from Cummins.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's what you put in the trucks.
That's right. That's what you do.
So
and you don't lose any torque in the thing.
As we talk about natural gas and hopefully more use of it in the future, what does this all mean for oil prices? I mean, you look at oil right now and we're under 100.
We're importing 8-9 million barrels a day into the United States. So there's plenty of room for American oil to replace imported oil. And 4.5 million barrels of that comes from OPEC. That's what I want to cut out, is OPEC oil. And there's plenty of room for our oil, our natural gas and all. We just have a...
Do you think prices stay sort of where they are?
Oh, I don't see... the cost of drilling these wells is not, it's expensive. I mean, you're talking about wells from $5 to $15 million per copy on these wells. And so you're going to have, you can live with $80 oil, but when it drops below $80, you're going to see some. We have 1,800 rigs operating in the United States. And so you'll see some of those rigs shut down when you get down to $80.
So we're at 97 right now on crude. If you had to give me a prediction over the next couple of months?
Couple of months? That's really short. So you're saying by the end of the year?
Yeah.
Well, right now, I'm going to answer the question.
Unfortunately, we got to take a commercial break. Boone Pickens, thank you so much.
97 will hold till the end of the year.
97 hold to the end of the year. Thank you so much. Wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you.